with regards to how this season is extended from temperature, yeah, we may see mosquitoes coming out earlier. And the other thing, as I mentioned before, is that the cold winter temperatures do knock back mosquito populations as they overwinter. But if they're not as cold, then more mosquitoes survive the winter. And then so you have the spring mosquitoes that come out, and then you have the summer mosquitoes that come out. And so you have this wave after wave of mosquitoes. All right. And one of the things to keep in mind here is that with climate change, as I mentioned, you have increase in storm intensity and increase in numbers of storms. Well, but also increases in temperatures. And one of the things we see is if we have a year where there's lots of rain, as you know, as a meteorologist, if there's lots of rain in a summer, then the average temperature is a little bit lower.
Right.
And if there's not much rain, the average temperature is higher. So if we have a summer where there's a lot of rain, then what happens is we see a lot of mosquitoes surviving through the summer, right? And we don't see many West Nile or mosquito-related illnesses in those summers that have lots of rain. But then if that summer is followed by the next summer being dry, then what we see is this spike of West Nile and insect and mosquito-related diseases because more mosquitoes were produced the previous year, and now they're around this year, the hot, dry year, when these temperatures are driving viral replication, driving mosquito activity. And so we see the cycling of diseases that's correlated with wet and dry summers.
Oh, and I never knew that. And actually, West Nile, the connection to that was going to be my next question too. So you answered that for me already.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it would kind of be cyclic. Is that what you're saying? Because it would probably, in terms of PA in the climate, it would be hard to say. We probably would end up more rainier than just straight up hot. Again, it's hard to say, but it seems like we have more, if we were to have the likelihood too of having it be followed by a warmer year go up as well, then in general, the main idea is that yes, there could be more West Nile cases certain years as opposed to others.
Yeah, what happens is that if a dry year follows a wet year, a hot, dry year.
Which last summer was for us. I do remember that, especially near the end.
Now, I didn't track West Nile cases, but generally speaking, if we're focusing on mosquito-borne illnesses like West Nile, Eastern equine encephalitis, if you were to look at dengue, if there was a dry year like last summer, then what we would have seen is not only more West Nile cases in humans and animals, but we would have seen them sooner. And this is something that I've tracked in the past, where if a dry summer follows a wet summer, then we see West Nile cases in July, maybe as early as June. And
so timing is affected as well, not just number.
Right. And the reason for that is West Nile is a virus. And what we see is, and as you may know, birds carry this virus. Mm-hmm. All right. Birds are basically a bridge vector to larger animals like humans and horses. But humans and horses are what we call dead end because we don't get viral loads high enough so that if a mosquito that's uninfected bites us, they can become infected. Okay, so that's why we're dead end hosts, but birds are bridge hosts. And so what happens is that when warmer temperatures will cause the virus to replicate at a greater rate in birds. Okay, so you have birds that this virus, what it does is we call it recrudescing. It kind of goes to a lower viral load during the winter because it's colder, birds' metabolisms are slower, right? And as the spring unfolds, metabolisms start to ramp up, bird hormones ramp up, temperatures increase, and that viral load begins to increase. So what happens is when you get a flush of mosquitoes coming out in that dry year, that because the previous year was wet and produced a lot of mosquitoes, in the spring, if you get a lot of mosquitoes coming out and that viral load is jacked up in the birds, you get more and more mosquitoes picking up West Nile virus. And that's when West Nile can appear earlier in the season. And that's when you find the DEP spraying earlier in the season to control West Nile outbreaks.
Gotcha. Wow. Kind of nerding out a little too, because I mean, I like learning something new, and that's an angle to it that I didn't even think was
Yeah.
going to be something I would hear about.
Yeah, well, and you're spot on in tracking this with climate change and with increases in temperature, because
This is
if
something that would happen more and more.
yeah, if we see this cyclical nature of precipitation and dry periods, okay, then we will see insect populations respond accordingly. And we're talking about, if we're interested in those insects that are pests, mosquitoes. There's a big concern right now with spotted lanternflies. This is not an insect that's native to this area, and so if we have winter temperatures, they overwinter as an egg case. Okay, if we have winter temperatures that are mild, more and more of those eggs survive. And whereas if temperatures in the winter were really, really frigid cold for a 2-week, 3-week period, it would kill a lot of the lanternflies. But it's not. And in fact, I saw lanternfly larvae coming out in early May. And they were out sooner than that. And so climate change is definitely, and increases in temperatures definitely impacting the insect population.